So my show, Leading Her Way, is so welcome to Leading Her Way. Tell us who you are and what you're doing as a leader for women and girls in your specific area of expertise.
Sure. Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited. I'm Tara Rose. I am an athletic director in St. Croix Falls School District in Wisconsin. So we're right on the Wisconsin-Minnesota border in Northwest Wisconsin. It's a smaller district. We have about 350 kids in our high school. And so I run our athletic programming for both high school and middle school. And, traditionally athletic directors are a male dominated field. It still very much is. So when I'm at AD meetings in my conference, there's 2 females out of our 10 ADs. At the state level, I still don't think we've hit 20% females, female AD representation. We've been growing. And again, our male ADs do a great job of listening to us and hearing our stories, but they have not lived the experience of being a female athlete, and how female athletes feel, how they want to be represented. So for me, it's very important to bring female athlete perspective. And athletic directors are making rules that govern both male and female athletes. And for a very long time, the male voice has been the dominant voice in that field. So it's my job to make sure that our females get represented and get heard, but also I think it's really important that young girls see women in roles like athletic directors, like coaches. And so from my space, I do a lot of advocacy for women's leadership, women's sports, women coaches, and just women in sports in general. And again, it's my goal to be a role model for young girls. And it's been really cool having two, former high school graduates that are now going into athletic administration and didn't really think about it because they just haven't seen a woman in that role. So it's really cool. One of them has been helping at wrestling events with me, and she did that in high school, which was super cool. So I think we all know this, but representation really matters. If they don't ever see women in those roles, they don't envision themselves in those roles either. So
Yes, and that is one of the reasons that I wanted to do this. I guess we call it a YouTube show, because I want more women and girls to see that there's all sorts of opportunities, that nothing has to be gender specific, or that nothing is off limits. And when you actually see it in action, like you said, it gives girls the idea that, hey, I can do that.
Yes, absolutely.
So what made you did you happen into the athletic director position, or tell us what got you started in this?
Yeah. So sports were a huge part of my life. So that I was a 3-sport athlete throughout, middle school and high school. And then I played softball at a Division III school here in Wisconsin at UW Stout. And the position of athletic director seemed cool, like at that point, but it wasn't like that's what I want to do with my life. So I had a degree in science education, and I taught high school science, biology, and chemistry, still being in a pretty male-dominated field. And I was in my chemistry and biology classes in college and in education, again, pretty male-dominated space as well. Definitely more diversity, but so I taught and I coached for 8 years. And during that time, I went back and got my master's degree in educational leadership. And being a coach, it really bothered me. I coached volleyball, basketball, and softball. And again, a lot of them did a good job, but it bothered me how many males coach in female sports. Again, a lot of them did a great job, but I was like, I want women to have women coaches, and I want women to be represented. And that kind of spurred things. And when I did my master's degree, I fell in love with leadership, like just how to teach leadership, the impact that leadership has on businesses, on teams, in sports. And I'm like, this is my passion. My passion was science. I really enjoyed science, but it really transitioned into leadership. And I want to train leaders, and I want to help kids with leadership. And so it kind of spurred that passion. And then I did my thesis, or my final practicum project for my master's, on women in leadership roles in athletics. And my study was mostly on women ADs in the state of Wisconsin. And at the time, it was only 14% of all athletic directors were women. And I just thought that was insane. I'm like, you are representing all sports and both genders, all genders. And there's only 14% of you that have an experience of what half of our athletes are feeling and knowing. And so that was an inspiration to me. And I said, it was a problem to me. I was like, this isn't right. And I'm the type of person that I will complain, but I will also step up. So I was like, and so I was like, okay. And so me and my husband had a conversation about this. And I said, this is something I really want to pursue. And I was really honest. I said, which means you're going to have to be more primary parent. We have 3 boys. And my husband was a teacher. He still is a teacher, and he was a football coach. I'm like, you're going to have to be done coaching if we do this, which he was ready to be with having boys. So we had that kind of really honest conversation, and I pursued moving into athletics. So, I did a few interviews, and the current school that I'm at just felt like the right fit, and it's been a great fit. So.
Oh, wow. That's really cool that you had that conversation with your husband and that he kind of lessened, it sounds like he lessened his role.
Yep, he did.
In order for you to step up. And I love that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And it was always that way as a coach. And he is incredibly supportive. And I'm definitely the one that works more, he is primary parent. He's always hauling our boys back and forth. And he's been incredibly supportive, and he is very much a supporter of women's athletics and seeing the need that my role as a female AD is really important for representation. He finds the importance of it. And I think it's really important when males do that, because in their position of privilege and power, to have males lift women up and do that, it makes a huge difference as well.
Yes. Oh, I love this conversation. So let's talk a little bit about the difference, the gender difference in athletes, as far as their emotional needs. Yep. And I know that boys have a lot of the same emotional needs. But like you said, the men they don't have lived experience as a female athlete and the other challenges. And my daughter was a college athlete. She's a basketball player for 4 years at Mount Union. And one of the questions that she asked when she found out that I was interviewing you is, what are you doing to support the mental health of your female athletes? Yep. Because she notices that as a huge gap. Yep. in athletics. And I noticed it too as a parent.
I very much, so lots of different things. Well, I would definitely say that, and this is kind of a funny story that relates in that I've always coached female. I have coached male as well in the weight room, and I've done some stuff with powerlifting and things like that. But girls, besides the mental health aspect, they really struggle with confidence, imposter syndrome, perfectionist. And not to say that boys don't, but that's really rampant for our female athletes. And so understanding that is really important. And I laughed because my brother always coached boys, and now he coaches girls golf. After his very first day of girls golf, he calls me and he says, "Are girls afraid to try?" And I go, "Yeah, they absolutely are." He's like, "I never had that with they're nervous to try because they want to be perfect. They want to be great." And so it's giving them the confidence is so often in female athletics, and giving them the confidence. They lack that confidence, and they have this perfectionist mentality of this isn't good enough until it's perfect. So I think that's kind of that underlying emotional and social support that girls need, but specifically with mental health. So I, as an athletic director, have different things that we look at each year. And one of the things that we found was mental health, and I'll talk more about that. But the other thing we found with our athletes is nutrition. We felt our boys were eating a lot of crap, and our girls were under fueling. Our girls have this mentality of, I need to look thin, I'm only going to eat this. And they were eating, some of our girls were eating 1,200 calorie diets, and they burn that much at practice. So we've put a priority on the nutrition as well in the last few years. And in the last couple of years, we've definitely heard our kids talk about mental health. So some first things that we did overall for all of our athletes, both male and female. Number one, our athletes have surveys that they get during their season about their coaches. And one of the questions is, how is your mental health? And if you were to have issues with your mental health, would you feel comfortable going to your coach? We need to make sure we have an environment where kids can talk about it. And so coaches, I will get that on our survey and say, hey, they're really comfortable with you. That's great. That means that you are creating an environment where they're okay to talk about it. Another cool thing that's school-wide, which is awesome. So this is why I'm wearing a Badgers Hawaiian shirt because I'm from Wisconsin. It is actually Mental Health Awareness Week, and we have dress-up days. And today's topic, like tropical. So this is my Badger, and so it is a school-wide priority. So we're dressing up every day in announcements. There are stats and things read about mental health, anxiety, depression, and we as a school district we use white bandanas to signal that we are a safe space, that we understand mental health and wellness. So that's also assimilated into our sports culture. And the other thing that I got a small grant for and then used a little bit of money, right outside my office, I have a athlete mental health resource center. We did this just a couple years ago. So there's fidgets there. There's normally mint or candy. There's coloring pages. There's things for them to just decompress and relax, but there's also a list of resources. Who can I call for help? Who can I talk to? There's articles about anxiety and depression and how it relates to sports specifically. Exercise we can do. So I have a few different posters out there of breathing techniques. So like the square breathing, different things that they can do to calm themselves down. And again, I have different book resources as well related to pressure, mental health, and wellness within sports. And I've found that, there's definitely kids that use it, but the biggest thing is having an area and having it be a common conversation piece that kids know we prioritize, and I prioritize mental health. And that's, I think, one of the biggest things that people don't realize. You don't have to have all the answers, but you need to make it comfortable for kids and coaches to talk about mental health and wellness and know that it's okay if you're not okay. And we're here to help. And I think a lot of coaches feel like, well, I'm not an expert at that. You don't have to be an expert at that. That isn't necessarily your job description, but you do need to make sure that you've created a culture and environment where kids feel comfortable enough to share about it and talk about it. So those are kind of the areas that we've done with that in the last couple of years. So
I love that. That is the most important thing. And let me just say from the beginning of that, as somebody who's worked with women for the last 5 years exclusively, I work with women who are closer to my age in their 50s, and they're still afraid to try. It's not just young girls. It's an epidemic among all women at this point. And as society gets heavier and mental health becomes more of an issue, it's more obvious where the help that we need to provide more help.
absolutely.
I love what you're doing with just knowing if they feel safe to go to their coach or to go to an adult, because that's the first thing is, do you feel safe to tell somebody? I keep asking over and over, how do we help these kids? And you just answered that very clearly. We ask them if they feel safe. And if that answer is no, then we know that we need to do a better job.
Yep. And the biggest thing is a kid recognizing and just sharing signs of like, so outside of my room, again, in this space, it's like, are you feeling like, have you been feeling numb? So signs, because a lot of kids won't even realize that they are struggling with their mental health. They just think they're in a funk or whatever else. And so making them aware of it, making it common practice and language to talk about it, all of those things are just really important for that space. So
yeah, this is wonderful. So I have to ask, do you have a formal program that you use to teach both your coaches, and do you teach coaches outside of your school district?
So a formal program, not yet. My goal is to so with my coaches, we have 4 to 5 coaches meetings a year. And in that coaching meeting, some of it is obviously like information and things we have to discuss, but I always prioritize coaching, professional development. And so we always have time for that. And the other thing I do is my coaches get a bi-weekly like professional development email. It's, hey, this is our focus this week. So I just sent one this week, and the focus for that professional development email is why it's important for you as a coach to be respectful to officials, and then why that impacts our kids in being respectful to officials. So it's different topics, and mental health has always been kind of one of those topics. I haven't done any formal training outside of here with coaches, but I do. So I have a SALT group. SALT stands for Student Athlete Leadership Team. And I've kind of developed a 4-year or a year-long curriculum with leadership, and mental health is included in that. Like, how are we supporting other people? How are we supporting ourselves? And in that year-long kind of curriculum and outline that I have, it cycles every 4 years. So we have 10 lessons in a year, and lesson 1 for my kids is always about like, who are you? What do you stand for? You got to know who you are and what you stand for. And each year in a 4-year span, we do that. Same lesson, but it looks a little different, so that if I have a kid in high school for 4 years, they get a slightly different lesson, slightly different version of that each year. And I have done that outside with a few other athletes. And our conference has a leadership and sportsmanship summit that I organize and run each year. And we do, a decent amount of kind of leadership training there, sportsmanship training. And I think that health and wellness plays a big part of leadership, because as a leader, you should be able to feel the temperature of your teammates in your room. And that's something we talk about, is like, you should know and you should step in when you see a teammate is struggling. And that's what a leader does, both as a coach. So those are things that my coaches hear and my athletes hear. And we think, I prioritize that, and they hear that that's part of leadership as well, is knowing when our people are struggling and making sure that, because when you're struggling, it's really hard to reach out. It's really hard to say, I'm struggling. That is a hard thing to say. So as a leader, it's our job to go to them. And my kids, I'm like, I'm training you. I'm telling you, if you notice someone over there struggling, don't expect them to come to you. You move to them and check on them and see how we can provide support and help for them.
Oh, that's wonderful. And that translates into being better on the court.
Absolutely.
Or the field also.
Yes.
You recognize when your teammate is struggling to find somebody who's open, right? It's the same kind of concept, that just being a good teammate on and off the field, whether that's a high school athlete or an adult.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Kind of those lifelong leadership skills. And I very much believe that those skills will translate into life. And again, if you're a manager at a company or you're leading a team, and you have a member of your team in your office that is struggling, same thing. As a leader, you should be going to them and checking in on them and seeing how you can support them. So I really think those are transitional skills for kids to use later in life as well.
100%. I love the work that you're doing. It's so refreshing. In a time when we're all struggling with mental health, it's so refreshing to hear someone who's actually taking such an active role in a small high school. You said you had 350 students in your high school. How many K through 12 do you know in your district?
I think we're around 1,000. Okay. Each building is similar, so we're pretty close to that 950 to 1050. Okay. I know our smaller grades are a little bit smaller, but they seem to grow as they get older. So but our middle school is pretty similar. So I have another couple hundred athletes in our middle school that I work with. And so, because we do school-sponsored sports for 7th and 8th grade, and some of our sports like track, cross country, and wrestling are 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So and those kids and coaches are with me as well. So, yeah.
And I'm assuming it's a rural area?
Yeah. we are not far. We're probably 45 minutes from the Twin Cities in Minnesota. So that's kind of our biggest area near us. Because again, we're on the border. But we're definitely in a more rural, community.
Yeah.
So
It really connects with me because I live in a small town. Our community within the city limits is 1,000 people. I used to be on the school board, and our enrollment in the district at that time, at least, was like 734 K through 12.
oh, okay, yep.
So there's definitely some unique situations and unique opportunities to really connect with kids and parents because it's such a small
Yep.
environment. So your leadership lessons that are intended for kids are also impacting your community. So
Yeah.
I really commend you for that. This is so good. So I want to tell people that I found you on
We
TikTok,
found each other.
right? I'm just
Yeah.
meeting you for the first time today. But I found you on TikTok, and it's so important. Social media can be a really bad thing in some ways, especially for kids.
Yeah.
What
Agreed.
I love about social media is that you and I would never have met, and I would never know about the incredible things that you're doing. And the first thing that I'm going to do when I hang up from this is I'm going to send this recording to our local athletic director, who is also a female.
Oh, wonderful.
In her very first year, and your stories are similar. She started as a teacher, and now she's the athletic director, and she's doing an incredible job. So I would like to connect you
Love it. Would
with
love to.
her, because I'm hoping that she can start some of the things that you're doing in our community, because I know that our coaches are working really hard to develop good kids, like strong, healthy kids. And I know it's really difficult. And so any support that they can get. Do you have any kind of, I asked about the formal program with the athletes. Do you have any kind of, even just coaching organization for female coaches and athletic directors?
Yes. So I am a part of the global community of women in high school sports community. It is so it's an online, I pay dues for it, and we get resources. I got it. How I got the knowledge of that was I went to the National Athletic Director Conference, and at the National Athletic Director Conference, they have a women's forum. It was the most impactful meetings I've ever been to in the last few years. And they connected us with this global women's and high school athletics group. And so we have a group on Sports U. Sports U is similar to Remind or Band. It's a team, and it's all women in athletics and athletic directors. And again, we'll share stories, we'll share ideas. It's a kind of an online networking team. And we have events hosted throughout the year and just different seminars and trainings that they provide through this group. It's been amazing. And I've connected with ADs from Florida, Texas, California, all over the country, Chicago. And it's just really cool to know that we're not alone in this. As women, we face very similar situations. One of the most common things being a female athletic director is they trust us to organize things. They trust us to communicate, but they don't think we know ball. They don't think we actually know the X's and O's of many of the sports. And most of us do. And most of us feel like we have to prove even more so than a male, where, for example, a male, you wouldn't expect them to know about every sport. You'd expect them to know the sports they played and the sports they coached. But for some reason, if a woman doesn't know anything, it's like if we don't know everything, we don't know anything. And so it's just really common. That is probably the most common thing. And even though I don't like it, it feels better knowing that's not just happening to me. It's happening to all of us. And there's just lots of different, things we've faced as women that are different than men in the profession. And so to have that network has been awesome. Love it.
Oh, I love it. So for me, one of the reasons that I've started the organization that I call Women Lead is to connect people. of all different backgrounds and
Mm-hmm.
in different leadership positions, or women who want to be in leadership positions, and then just connect them with each other, just like I mentioned to you,
Yeah.
connecting you with our athletic director, because we all know that we all deal with the same issues,
Mm-hmm.
but none of us know how to connect with each other.
Yep.
So that is my goal, is to bring a large group of women together and then kind of filter through them as here's the athletes and the coaches and the athletic directors, and here are the politicians, and here, just like, and then breaking down even further from that, because women need a network of support, and just like you said, somebody who also knows, and we can share ideas, and that brings us all together.
Absolutely.
So
I
that's
love it.
what Leading Her Way is all about, is just exposing more of that to the general female population, and also connecting everyone. So thank you so much for agreeing to spend 30 minutes with me. Thank you for being on TikTok and telling it like it is, so that you drew my attention, so that I wanted to hear more about your story.
Yeah. Well,
And
thank you.
I am sure this is not going to be the last conversation that we have.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope it continues, and that's why I've had TikTok for years, just a personal account, and I decided this fall that I wanted to use my voice a little bit more, and share what it's like being a female, and share leadership tips and things like that. And sometimes I'm disappointed. I'm like, oh, there's only 200 views, but that is 200 more people that heard something and saw something. And it's been really cool because I have my students, like my female students, see me on there. I've had probably the coolest reason, and the reason I got into it is I've had 2 female athletic directors email me from my TikTok asking for advice or help, and we've connected and networked that way. Like, I'm struggling with this, do you have any advice? And I don't have all the answers. By no means am I an expert, but if I can listen and be an ear and help them find things, or here are things that I can share, and that's been one of the coolest things. I that's the reason I did it. I wanted more women to see women in the AD world, women in leadership, and do my best to help other coaches and other athletes as they develop their leadership and feel confident and positive as a female athlete, or as a coach of female athletes. So
I love it. All
thanks.
right. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you
It's
for having me. I'm so excited. I love getting to meet you, and I love what you're doing. So thank you for doing that, and being a strong female role model for all of us as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.